Clipper, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit. I know you have this fantastic launch of this new concert series coming up. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your mission and what you hope to accomplish?
Well, this concert series is the culmination of many things that have happened in the last year and even before that in my life. Back in April, when the pandemic and all the shutdowns were starting, I decided to do an online concert, which I had never done before. And it was a big experiment. It was a big risk, and but yet I decided that we really need music. We need something that is binding together. I had read all the stories about the Italians singing out their windows and thought that, well, we can't just, I'm a musician, this is what I do, so I can't just hide and wait till everything is all over. I have to get out there and do something. So I did that, and it was quite successful. And then I was asked to do a lot more of these online concerts through the summer and the fall. One was for the Princeton Summer Chamber Series in July, and that was on my specialty, Nathaniel Dett, an African-American composer. And then I did several concerts for Westminster Conservatory of Beethoven sonatas, because it's the Beethoven year, or at least it was last year. It's still ongoing. And then all of the social problems started coming up, and the new awareness of what we have to do about systemic racism. And that's been part of my life for a long time because of my work with Nathaniel Dett and other African-American composers. And I decided, okay, here's the time to put these things together and start a series that would be virtual and that would put together these great composers of color and women together with well-known masterpieces. Because what often happens is that Black composers or women composers get shoved off or segregated, as you will, into their own little concerts, particularly with Black History Month. Oh, it's February, let's play some Black composers. But these people belong on concert programs all year round, and they belong with Beethoven and Bach and Brahms and Chopin and with all the greats in the past. That's where they belong. So that's my dream, and it's wonderful to have such a great crew of people to help me make it into a reality.
Well, that's really fantastic. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. Can you tell me what your role is in what you think your role is, at least in elevating all of these voices?
Well, what I do is, as I said before, I'm a musician. So I see all of these issues that affect us so greatly, and never as much as in the last few days. And my job as a musician is to bring people together through music and to highlight the works of people that have been overlooked, who have not had the voice that they should have. And that's my job, and that's my role, and that's my piece of the puzzle. So that's what I offer there. And if more awareness of these great creations can help us with the social problems that we have, so much the better.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's there's no time but the present, and goodness knows we really need this kind of work right now. So
Well, I had planned this series, of course, for a month or two, but what has been going on in the last few days, now we need it more than ever. We need solace, we need comfort, we need something to bring people together. We've needed something to bring people together for almost a year now with the pandemic, but now we're frightened, we're unsure, we don't know what's going to happen next, we're anxious. That's what music is for. When we're in trauma and we're in crisis, that's when we need music. That's when humans make music.
absolutely. And to that end, that's why classical music is so relevant now, more so than ever before. Do you see the relevance of classical music kind of on the rise through this type of work?
Yes, very much so, because when you look at these composers in the past, they all lived through their trying and turbulent times as well. And their art is an outgrowth of their personal experience. It's not just something that belongs in a museum and a dead thing. It's something that where we can connect with the experience of these people. Take the Waldstein Sonata of Beethoven, for instance. It's a work of tremendous energy, exhilaration, and upliftment. He wrote it in 1803 in the early days of the Republic. Not that he necessarily had America in mind, but that was what was going on in the world. Tremendous change, tremendous hope. And that music speaks to us just as much in 2021 as it did in 1803.
With tremendous change and tremendous hope. I totally understand. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, Clipper, you mentioned that the Waldstein Sonata was composed during a period of great international political turbulence. Does that relate to any of the other composers on your program?
Absolutely, Alex. Towards the beginning of the program, I'll be playing Troubled Water, which is a version of Wade in the Water by Margaret Bonds, a great African American composer and pianist. She wrote this in 1967 at the height of the civil rights movement. It is filled with struggle, defiance, determination. It has this "we shall not be moved" feeling about it, and I think it goes together with Beethoven absolutely perfectly. It's the same thing in a different era, and it speaks to us now just as it did when she wrote it.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about music is that it's timeless. It has reverberant effects throughout time. It really doesn't, it's not strictly limited, as you said earlier, to a museum piece that's dead. It's an ongoing, living, breathing organism.
Right, it is. All of these composers of color, all the women, they take things from what's going on around them, from the classics, from things in the past, and then they forge new ground with it. So it's an organic, ongoing process. It's a performing art. It's not something that hangs on a wall.
So I am here today with Holly Gash. She is one of Clipper's first collaborative artists that he is welcoming onto his series. Holly, how you doing?
I'm fine and I'm happy to be here. And I'm so honored to be one of Clipper's first collaborative artists.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. As a phenomenal soprano, a phenomenal opera singer yourself, can you tell us a little bit about how you feel about this upcoming concert and what you see your role is in elevating these marginalized voices?
Well, I'm flattered to think that you think that I'm phenomenal, but I think it's wonderful to give voice to these other composers. And I'm learning so much from Clipper and from doing this. And he's introducing spirituals to me that I wasn't familiar with, new works. And like he said, they deserve just as much, exposure as other composers that we hear on a regular basis. And I think spreading this, spreading their music and exactly what Clipper said, many of them wrote during struggles in their own personal lives that we can relate to now. Some of the same struggles. And this is another way for us to validate ourselves and the way that we're feeling now through this other, music, and Clipper giving this music a platform is just it's a no-brainer. It's phenomenal, and I'm so glad that he came up with it and is doing it.
So am I. Honestly, I've been learning a lot myself as well, and it's just so nice to see, Clippers saying his kind of motto is beyond the classics. So it's so nice to be able to journey beyond the classics with Clipper and to hear these works performed alongside fantastic classics.
Right.
So can you tell me a little bit about, do you have a favorite song on the program that you sing? And can you tell me a little bit about why you like it so much?
I like the Ride on King Jesus because I wasn't familiar that there were so many different arrangements of that particular spiritual. And I'd sung before the Burley piece and was very familiar with that. And then when Clipper said, "Well, Nathaniel Dett has one," and it's very different, but It's similar in some ways, and it just really makes me feel good to sing that song because I feel like I just kind of go to my depths and, here it is. And when I sing it, I do personalize it and I think of my own parents. And, when I'm singing, tell my mama or tell my daddy, in heaven that, it's like I totally am personalized it, just like I do with opera roles. When I sing an opera role, I am the character. I don't think that I'm trying to be someone. It's like I am that person for that time. And so it's the similarity is there also.
For sure. Well, and there are some pieces that just taste good to sing, huh?
Yeah, and that one it's not like with some, controlled, slow ballads. This one you just get to let it rip and just, sing it, and it's so much like just a praise. It's just like singing, praising, and just letting it out instead of a lot of times, like with Deep River, you're really holding and you're thinking about every single consonant and they can hear every single breath. And I get kind of worked up on things like that. And when I can just let a piece just fly out, like, it's totally different and it's freeing.
Yeah, you can open the floodgates and just let it flow. That's great. Well, one of the things that I love is, when you have such a classic like the Burley, and even with Deep River as well, there are so many arrangements of that have just kind of become ubiquitous in our culture. Isn't it just nice to hear a composer's take on it? For me, at least, when I sing new pieces, when I work on new arrangements of some of those classics, I always hear new and different things that I hadn't noticed before.
Absolutely.
Do you have any of those moments in the program?
Myself, I do have some of those moments where, because I've sung Deep River many times, like you said, and sometimes it just touches a different place with something that's relevant that's going on today or yesterday or sometime in the near, present, that it when you sing it, it just feels different and then it sounds different. It's totally, interpreted differently.
Yeah, it just lives in a different part of your body.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.